People have seen many things in the present like COVID and other stuff, but we're gonna taking it back to the 1960s, which is a pretty much a wild era of segregation, presidential, and possibly some assassinations from the president. And here's why. And people see the chaos from the wild era. Let's start with 1960, which is a decade open to the era for President John Kennedy and Richard Nixon. However, Richard Nixon lost the election to John F. Kennedy. And so, how does it happen? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because from the Civil Rights Act to segregation. And then let's proceed to 1961. In early 1961, President Kennedy founded a Peace Corps, which is a federal agency designed to give Americans an opportunity to serve the country and the world through volunteer community-based projects. Now, because Peace Corps have been made before President John F. Kennedy released it to everyone. Let's proceed to 1962. Because the biggest event, a very disastrous event, which is the Cuban Missile Crisis. Many people have seen ISIS. And with this event, the United States was on edge for almost 13 days during a confrontation with the Soviet Union. Yeah, it's pretty harsh, isn't it? And then let's proceed to 1963, which is start where the segregation started between split from the black and the white. Right. Because the march on Washington of May 15th had drew 200,000 protesters who witnessed Mr. Martin Luther King Jr., who gave an "I Have a Dream" speech. It's very legendary, is it? Yeah. And let's proceed to mid 1964. The landmark Civil Rights Act become a law had ended segregation in public places and banning employment discrimination based on their race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Yeah, we all get that pretty much. And then on February 1965, activist Malcolm X was assassinated while giving a speech to the audience. Now, you know that is brutal. Oh, and it was very legendary and kind of sad, though. And then in 1966, in late September, Nazis Albert Speer was released from Spandau prison after completing his 20-year sentence for war crimes. And we all know that is pretty much, it's very essential for most people. In 1967, the first Super Bowl ever was played in Los Angeles on January 15th, 1967, between the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on April 4th while going on a speaking tour in Memphis, Tennessee. And then the presidential candidate, Robert F. Kennedy, was followed by an assassinating bullet on June 6th as he was celebrating his win in the California Democratic primary. We all know these two people, were very legendary. I can say. How many people? Well, people might say it could be brutal or not. As we proceed to 1969, I want you to click the subscribe button for more of this of how those years become reality. All right, last but not least, 1969. Neil Armstrong became the first man to walk on the moon when, during the Apollo 11 mission. That's pretty cool, though. If you walk on the moon, if you become an astronaut, your dreams will may come true. So after all, well, in July 20th, 1969. And if you guys want more of these, go, please. I will upload more of them. Click the like in the description. All right, that's always. Bye bye.